Hi, I'm Terry Bozzio. Welcome to a special edition of The Art of Drumming. I just met Siemy D, who's a mixed marriage from Brazil and the Congo, and is a real globally influenced cat. So we're going to start talking about all the influences around the world that make our lives so wonderful. Siemy.
Lovely to meet you.
It's really a pleasure for me to meet you. For me, I look at ethnic percussion from around the world as one of my biggest influences. Name a country, I've stolen something from it, And jazz a la Miles and Weather Report, where it's really improvised to the level of modern chamber music, that level. And then the Western European classical tradition as well. So those are my three main influences. And it's such a pleasure to meet you and get your take on things. Brazil has phenomenal percussion, and Africa, so much from Africa. So tell me about yourself.
Oh, I was born in Congo from a Brazilian mom and Brazilian mother, and a Congolese dad. And what happened immediately in the house, I knew there were two different cultures, kind of not antagonistic, but two different cultures cohabiting. And mother was very Brazilian, very kissy, and the music was different. I used to hear and from my dad's side, I was listening a lot of the 6/8 vibe.
Yeah.
Straight away, I knew there were two different cultures. And then when I was 6, we moved to Europe. We went to Belgium, and from the age of 10, I started classical music. I had to choose between football, which is soccer for you, and football in Europe, and music. I tried football. I went to music, 10. Classical music, snare drum, rock band, 13, 16, jazz. And I tried to recapture the Brazilian and the African, because I was in the house full of African music and Brazilian. And the more educated you become, the more, not sophisticated, but educated, you feel like, oh, I need to explore the complex, the art of complexity. And I went into jazz, 16, and I remember in music school, we had this rivalry between the melodic players and the rhythmic player. And they used to tell me, the drum set is not a real instrument. The piano is. Yeah. The violin is not the drum set. And I was thinking, my God, it must be possible to play something extremely beautiful on the drums. Very beautiful, very melodic, very sophisticated. And Max Roach, the solo drum, showed up. And that wasn't my generation. I couldn't relate to Max. It was beautiful. Blues for Big Sid, Jazz Me, and Drum Unlimited, and you showed up with your solo drum. I had the VCR, and I watched it, and suddenly I was like, my God, everything makes sense. The rock approach that I knew growing up in the West, playing rock, and the twang from somewhere else, the melody, and especially seeing rhythm as singing. It made sense. What you did made sense. And I could relate to that.
Yeah.
And then I started to explore what you did, and I was not a clone. I knew I wasn't in danger of imitating you because I'm different origin, so there's no one would come to you and say, oh, you sounds like Terry Bozzio. No, it wouldn't happen. But I was copying everything you were doing because the way you were expressing what you did made sense. And now I'm meeting you, it's like, oh my God. It's very inspiring, extremely intimidating, and very humbling because it looks like a child somewhere else can get inspired from a gentleman who doesn't look like him in an extremely divided world. And I was really lucky because my parents used to say, there's no frontier. Where you were born, what you do, what you talk is just random. Genetically, you're just this because it happened randomly. Don't pay too much attention to that. Inspiration can be anywhere. and it's you.
Well, man, that's very flattering. And let me tell you, I felt the same way. I went through all those stages. I started to play rock. I learned the basics of syncopation and stick control with my first teachers for a year, and the rudiments, right? And that was enough. That was such pure information, that it was enough to carry me through into jazz, into classical, and then on to this realization you've had. It's the same process for me. I thought to myself, well, everything that has been done in the past uses a ostinato figure, Jazz ride beat is an ostinato. The rock ride beat is an ostinato. Most, clave is an ostinato. All over the world, if you're counting in Indian music, that's ostinato. Absolutely. That stays the same. And then what do we do around that? And so, I just thought, why just use ding, ding, a ding? Why not go chiba ba chi, or whatever so that's how my progress was too. And then with notes, I had some bongos and 7 toms, and the bongos would always go out of tune. And I thought, well, why not make piccolo toms? So I asked Don to make me piccolo toms. I had a diatonic scale, an octave and a third, and I exhausted that. I even made harmonic etudes, with to use every chord I could think of, and in their nicest relationships. And then I wanted to go chromatic. I'm hearing Miles, and I wanted to play in and out of keys, and like Joe Zawinul. So that's where I am now. And with the bass drums all tuned to different white notes, and this half tuned to the white notes. So but lately, aside from the melodic thing, which is happening naturally, and I'm not. I played a few mallet parts in school, these kinds of things, but I never really studied harmony enough to, make changes. And it's difficult moving my feet to different bass notes. I usually stay on the 2 I'm planted on, then it can groove, and then you go from there. But now I'm trying to, use different scales, and there's a way to use them that makes sense to me, like Miles and Joe. They're in and then they're out, and that out makes this tension that you want resolved, and they resolve it or leave it hanging in such a beautiful way. So that's one aspect that I'm curious and excited about. And the other thing is, having met Ephraim and worked with him, he's just opened my mind to so many really strange possibilities, like 5 and 7 at the same time. These kinds of things were alien to me. And what I love about Ephraim's playing is you can't write it properly. It's somewhere in the cracks. It has to do with other dimensions superimposed onto the dimension that we're grooving with. And so I said, I want to learn how to do this. All the African music I hear has something where you can write it down, right? But it sounds like a march, or it sounds like a, classical piece or something. It's stiff, it's in a grid system based on that Western European traditional system. And it's not, it isn't quantized to what we're thinking about. And this has to do with technology and the way we think in the West, So for instance, 5 and 7, I have a pretty sophisticated little metronome on my iPad, and I try and program it from either the perspective of 5 or the perspective of 7, and it glitches. It can't do it. Where I can do it here, and you won't say it glitches, there's a gravity that pulls it right into sync, But according to this quantization and the way we count rhythms from the West, it glitches. It's not correct, So these kinds of things are fascinating to me, and it helps me to then try and emulate what I hear when you sing, the little things you just sung. I go, okay, that's music. There's something there that attracts me. And whenever I'm attracted and the big question mark goes over my head, I want to follow that way, And you end up with, each of us will end up wherever the hell we go, and learning what we learn, and then it's filtered through our body and our systems, Yeah, so I relate.
It's very true. It's
I
very
could have
true.
said that.
It's very
and
true.
saved a lot of time on tape.
And what I find extremely fascinating about the West is beautiful. Conceptually, it's beautiful. This beautiful instrument, the Westerns and American instrument is beautiful. But sometimes when meeting, because I have a maestro, I have a guru.
Yeah.
My guru, South Asian mrinangist, Maestro Balachandar. What I like about the culture, and the African culture is fairly similar. It's when you meet your guru, you feel blessed.
Yeah.
You feel like God and nature are just suddenly together, and you play like one with what you want to do.
Yeah.
And today, in a way, this is what you do to me. Of course, you're a man among men. But as an inspiration for me today, everything made sense. I feel like I can blow the way I want.
Yes,
and,
yes.
Thanks very much for blessing this date.
Oh
for me.
man, it's
really incredible.
It's my, every
And that's
time.
very difficult as a Western musician. It's very difficult for you to feel like, oh, suddenly it's there. It's telling me this, but it's true. It's
Well, I can relate to what you're saying, but I also, from a spiritual point, I'm cut off from the real power that comes through. If it's something really great, God, whatever you want to call it, that energy, something's coming through, I just got lucky, and turned the receiver to the right channel or the right frequency, and something happens and you can't play a wrong note. And then there's other nights where you're struggling and you have to pray and go, please, help me settle down, help me find the center here. And so you can channel this thing. And it is really a channeling. And there's the conscious, well, first of all, you have to have that intention, right? So if I intend to do that, then I'm on the right track. Then it's like, how good can you do this? One of the great percussionists we interviewed the other day, Emil Richard, always said, you have to be clear on your idea, totally clear, and then you have to relax the body in order to, so the energy can flow so that you can realize this idea. And I try to live that way. I'm more balanced when I'm behind the drums than anywhere else in life, I have casualties and problems just like every other human being. But it is a blessing that we get that joy that happens, under certain circumstances when you get to play and you're just in that zone. It's a beautiful thing. And for me, guru means guide, someone who guides you, And I've found many, many gurus, when I play with Alex Acuna, when I play with Efrain Toro, Walter Rodriguez lately, we just hit it off. And there's just something beautiful that happens, And it makes me want to continue. I'm curious. I want to explore. I want to know. I want to do things that I can't do right now, I've been working a lot on looking at the concept of a square with right hand, right foot, left foot. And then you can make so many different shapes in the square with triangles and X's and weird things, and try to get that correlation between the limbs so that you can play things that are like stick control, right? The basic permutations are there in 2 dimensions, just right or left, but you can do this all around your body. And so, I started to begin to think, well, what if I cycle a triangle, around my body? Like you start with your right foot and you go, right? And then you go back to 1. So, and then start here. Right, and you're back to the beginning. And that I relate to because of the melodic scale form exercises, which are, the permutation of that, everything happens in rhythm. So therefore, this melodic thing is related, and I take a rhythmic approach to learning the little melodic cells and how they can go up or down or cycle and, how to do that. And I'm trying to do that just with my 4 limbs now to see if I can get a better sense of this 4-way coordination. And right now, it's just exercises. And right now, when I think about it and I go out and I play, I'll go to do something, one thing, two things, three things, maybe I can do. The other things, I'm going to mess up. So I think to myself, do I want to mess this up tonight? Can I afford, to mess this up? Or can I, play it safe and not go into this area where I'm not quite, familiar with yet? But we're always stretching like that. And, if you have a good night, maybe the audience will forgive a few little hiccups,
Absolutely.
The latest thing I've been working on, and I just started to play it on this tour, was a beat called Awalo Nene from Ghana.
Okay.
It's like yeah, and you can play three over that, and
From
other
the
things.
family of Ewe?
I'm not sure. All I know is I have a CD of just different Ghana grooves from authentic Ghana drummers, and and then there's brekete, which is it's somebody from the Lutheran University, I forget the name of it, but at any rate, this guy just demonstrated so many different grooves and the parts of the grooves that happen.
drum set.
Yeah, with all the different drummers. He'd play each part and explain, what the instrument was and what have you, and. I'll share all this with you, man. We're all looking, man, and guys will come in, and I'll just go, man, what is this? Listen to this. How is that happening? It's so beautiful. And
I remember yours used to go ta do do ta do do ta do do ta do do
Yeah.
ta do do ding dong dong ding dong dong.
Yeah.
And I remember when with my guru we did some kind of composition around it. And ta do do ta do do ta do do ta do do. And then
Yeah.
it was like one of those this
Yeah.
could be great to fuse those two together.
Yeah,
From India and from America.
Yeah, the Indian thing is just so beautiful, especially to me, South Indian music.
South
I
Indian,
think I love that the most. Gautam from,
Gautam.
what's his name, Viku, and Viku's son, Selva, on
Absolutely.
Kanjira.
Ganesh on the Kanjira.
Yeah, just phenomenal. I got to work with him in Marktoberdorf one year.
Okay.
And, he taught me, I'm playing different ostinatos, right? So this is my world. I know how to do this. And then I'd say, okay, so then how would I do, where would I start 3 7s or 3 5s and come out on one? The end of this, and so then I'm thinking, okay, and I just start doing it, and you come out on one.
And it works.
Yeah, but then I went to India with Zakir Hussain, and he the guys I met there, a Merdingam player, started to tell me how they have forms. Some are hourglass forms where you
Damaru.
start.
Damaru, the Mrinangam shape, the cowtail
Yeah.
shape, the river.
Yeah.
And, absolutely.
Yeah, and in the West we call it what do we call it? Diminution, and I forgot the opposite of it.
Yeah.
But like if you take, say, 3 5s, you can go da 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 da, right, and make it augment. That's what it is. Yeah, or in triplets or what have you. So I can play, some stuff like in 5. This 1 2 3. Let me see. And 3 4 5. 1 2 and 3 4 5. So you go 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. And then 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5.
3 speed.
Yeah.
Trikalam.
Yeah, go up like that. So, I think that's so beautiful, and it's seeped into my playing in an improvisation way, but most of the time I'm just using these phrases, and I pay attention to where one is, but I don't compositionally think I'm going to start this here, and end there. But yeah, I'm so attracted to this, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Do you ever have this problem where part of you is the student who wants to learn what they're doing, And the other part is don't listen to him because, you know, you're going to screw up your part.
I have that all the time with my guru when you recite something.
Yeah.
And I think it's not, the key is not to be drawn emotionally by admiring. It's just being really calm. And let him modulate rhythmically and just watch and count. You know, counting and that's how I managed to keep track.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing, man. That's, I mean, you know, to be able to sing something before you play it is a key thing in learning. And I so respect Indian school for this, you know. But on the other hand, like Ephraim says, they are rigidly attached to that. And when you try and teach an Indian guy this, he will stay in one or the other of the subdivisions. And it just doesn't work, you know?
See,
they don't understand.
They have their own way. The West mix and match, and that's the beauty of it sometimes.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's
what I love about the West, it's the polyphony, which is most of the other culture sometimes they don't have. And this is what I mean. It goes back to you again about polyphonic aspect of the drum set. Everyone goes, I mean, from an Indian side or African side, oh my God, it's just incredible.
Well, there is this thing, a balance in music, you know, between the elements. If something's very complex, say melodically and rhythmically, like Indian music, the drone is the contrast then, right? And in, say, something like Debussy, beautiful chords, maybe free-ish time, a melody, but the harmony is really that harmonic movement is the thing that grabs you. And so rhythmically and melodically, it's a lot simpler. And you can't, people who supposedly, as Slanimsky writes, he's another great guy that Coltrane practiced out of his book. So he says people who have tried to serialize a, high quality of each thing at the same time don't make good music because there is this contrasting and balancing element, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a trip. I find for myself, if I'm playing melodically, the rhythms can't be that complex, you know? And when you want to play more rhythmically, stay on one or two drums and then really focus on the interesting rhythms, you know, and subdivisions and polyrhythms and stuff. But when you do that melodically, you're forced to play, you know, okay, I'm going to do a run up to this note. That's just ba-da-da-da-da-da, and not so interesting rhythmically. You know, it's just 16th notes or something. So you have to have that balance, you know, and I find, okay, I've been playing too much melodically, now I'm going to hang on one drum and just think about rhythm, or I'm going to move to another texture like the cymbals and play something on them. So you're always contrasting and trying to keep the audience involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. And your audience is very, the mix of drummers and
non-drummers? I mean, you know, since 10 years ago when everybody stopped doing clinics, I had to get a booking agent and go out and play for the public and hope that it would work. And so far, Europe's been fairly successful, Japan, the United States, not so much, because when I explain something like 5 and 7, I ask how many drummers are in the audience, and maybe 10 to 20% at the most, you know? So we're not talking about, it's like normal people are coming, or maybe they consider themselves ex-drummers, and it's older crowd, you know? You have some kids, which is great, but I want to get the younger kids. I want to inspire younger kids, you know, to see, well, nobody had to tell me or you about the commitment, right? It seems people are very non-committal, you know? And in the United States, it's very difficult for a musician to make a living these days. So economically, their parents and the whole support for culture is like, you know, learn computer skills or something, you know, to make some money, you know. And my dad was the same way. Get a degree so you can teach in marine biology, you know. Well, I thought if I get a degree in music, I can teach in music, you know.
True.
So,
it's true.
Yeah. It's, I mean, you know, and then there's that contrast too between tradition and innovation, right? Every great composer, you know, went up against his star
peers.
composer,
His
teacher,
peers as
right?
well,
Yeah, and Rimsky-Korsakov would say to Stravinsky, you can't voice trombones like this in the low register, but he did, and then he went somewhere else, you know? And it's like a lot of these guys who I personally love broke rules so that now we can play anything. And if we believe in it and that's what we intend, that's okay, you know? Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Incredible.
yeah. So tell me, what bands are you playing with? What things are you doing now?
My thing, bands I did, I love culture. This is my thing. I'm fascinated by different culture. And to me, a musical genre is a culture.
Yeah.
So I did literally everything from the pop to the jazz to in England, contemporary dance, which I love. It's where I love dance and music combined. There's a lot of polyrhythm going on.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
No one feels like, hey, what's going on here? Because dancers do it naturally. And what I'm trying to do now as a solo artist, doing session, I play with everyone, from the Bollywood concert to the jazz. And what I tend to do, I created a theater, dance theater, celebrating the life of Max Roach. And Max Roach combined a fictitious story called Prana, Max Roach, a fictitious story about Max Roach going back in time to discover rhythm. And he come across two gods from India and the Lord Shiva and the Lord Shango, the Lord of Rhythm in West Africa.
Yeah.
And I created this kind of fictitious story, and there's dancers, contemporary dancer, flamenco dancer, because I truly believe everything is connected rhythmically. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of them, and Max Roach tune, which I play on the drum set. So this is my main focus. It's going to happen very, very soon. And I'm still doing a lot of session for jazz and less pop now because I can afford to be choosy.
Yeah.
And life is beautiful.
Yeah.
Life is
Where
beautiful.
is this theater you're?
It's called Prana.
Uh-huh.
And what do you mean?
Where located?
I did a few shows in London.
In
Now it's on
London.
hold a little bit because I'm focusing on other, financially
Yeah.
I need to think about because I'm producing everything.
Yeah, it's like a dream what you're talking about.
Yes,
It's beautiful.
It will come back.
Yeah.
It's called Prana Max Roach.
Yeah.
It will come back.
Yeah.
And, I suppose.
You know, he was probably one of the first to do a conscious, different ostinato
Absolutely.
with the drum also waltzes and
Absolutely. You can trace that he was heavily influenced by India. He was heavily influenced by, he was the perfect fusion of those two inspiration put together. And being American,
Yeah.
and playing an American instrument and having those strong influence.
Yeah.
And I thought this would be nice to create something around it and celebrate the life of Max Roach.
Yeah,
So this
yeah.
is my next installment.
Yeah, it's very few, drummers we know in America really used ostinato, like Airto with Brazil 66 and this kind of thing with the samba beat with his feet and playing other things. And I saw this when I was very young too. Then Max, Tony Williams did a few.
Absolutely.
And Billy Cobham did a few. And then it just seemed to go away.
It's
and
tough, yeah.
And
And the linear drumming took over. And,
Yeah.
It's very, Now everything is fairly linear, which is beautiful. Which is beautiful. And I think that's why, in a way, a lot of drummers on Instagram and Facebook can relate to the Indian korvai, which is as well linear. And then they can translate in a linear fashion. But in a polyphonic way, another story.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I found, really one way to do, two-part counterpoint. You can do single note, and then there's types of counterpoint, like 1 to 2 or 3 to 2 or 4 to 2. So 1 note here and 4 here or vice versa or something. And then rolling, which is very difficult because sometimes your left hand is on the offbeat and the rhythm is not as strong. But those are the only things. I've developed some studies for that here on drum channel that are in my lessons, but it's difficult to do that polyphony, easier for a keyboardist who can play, 2 lines here, 2 lines here. And
Naturally think about it. Naturally.
Yeah. Yeah. But, in jazz, pianists have done some beautiful things this way, and, and in writing too, some gorgeous melodies that just wouldn't be the same unless there was this counter melody that makes it so special,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, man, it's been fascinating. Shall we play a little bit now that we've talked about all this theoretical stuff?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Thank you so
We'll
much
take a
for
little
this.
break here, and we'll come back and play together.